real well last period, so I assume it'll go well for you guys. Now we're not on the unit circle anymore. We're not on the unit circle anymore, so you can't just tell me, oh, cosine is equal to my x coordinate and sine's equal to my y. This only works when you're on the unit circle. We're no longer on the unit circle. Go ahead and plot this point for me, 3, 4. We are creating an angle out of this because it says the terminal side. Remember how to make an angle? Where's the first side of the angle always located in this unit? On the right on the x-axis, and the terminal side, it says now, goes through 3, 4. So does everyone see the angle we are forming in quadrant 1? The name of that angle? Theta. So we'll put a little theta symbol right there. So we're all good on the setup. All right. First thing it asked me for, what's the exact value of sine theta? And I'm going to have to ask you guys to dig deep here. We did a ton of work that reviewed your 10th grade year in geometry, a ton. I can't say the sine equals the y coordinate 4. That's not correct. That's not correct. I'm not on the unit circle. So can you guys dig deep for me? Is there anything else you know sine's equal to other than the y coordinate from this unit or your 10th grade geometry days? Come on, dig deep. What else is sine equal to other than a y coordinate? Come on, you got it. We talked about it this unit too when we reviewed some geometry stuff. What else is sine equal to other than a y coordinate?
Opposite hypotenuse.
Come on, one more time.
Opposite hypotenuse.
Right? Remember that? It's also equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Well, wait a second. I need a what triangle to do that? A what type of triangle?
Right.
Here we go. Go back to your graph. Let's make a right triangle out of it by taking 3, 4 and drawing a vertical line right down. You just made yourself a right triangle. Can you find 2 side lengths? Can you find? Yeah, you can. What's the bottom side length? 3. And the vertical side length?
4.
Yeah, good job. I think I made my theta a little too big there, but you guys know where the angle is. All right, what's the opposite side to that theta now? What's the side length opposite that theta? 7. I'm going to be doing this a lot today. 2.
What is it?
4, you missed your chance. Over. Now I don't have, now take a look. Problem? When I ask for somebody for the hypotenuse, is there a problem? I don't have it. You could find it. Something we've done again and reviewed in this unit. If I have 2 sides of this right triangle, how can I find the third? What can I use here?
You can do the a squared plus b.
Pythagorean theorem. There you go. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Let's go, kids. So I can say 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. All of it coming back. This is why we reviewed. So that hypotenuse has a length of 5. Now you know what the hypotenuse is. All right, it also says what's the cosine of the theta? Other than the x coordinate, what else have we talked about cosines equal to this unit? Other than the x coordinate. Ka. Yep. Adjacent over hypotenuse. All right, so look at your triangle. What's the adjacent side in the hypotenuse? 1? Nope. 5?
The 3 is adjacent.
Yep, and the hypotenuse still? Still 5. 3 over 5. All right, we're moving. Good job. Last thing it asks for, sine, cosine, and find the value of theta to the nearest degree. So how many degrees are in theta right now? Well, let's talk. What quadrant is it in? First, so at least I'm thinking my answer has to be between what 2 degree measures? 0 and 90, right? It's got to be, my answer's got to be between 0 and 90. So start there. You're gonna have to dig even deeper for me because this is something we went over. How to find an angle measure. Remember how to use this to find an angle? If I know sine or if I know cosine already, how to find an angle measurement? What do I need to do on the calc?
Second, whatever.
Your inverse. Remember that? Your inverse. And that'll work for either one. So let's make a class decision right now. 15, make a class decision. Do you want to use the sine or the cosine? Fine. We're going to get the answer either way. So let's do sine theta equals 4/5. So if you want to find the angle theta, you got to do the inverse of sine. So inverse sine 4/5. And if you chose cosine and used 3/5, still would have got the same answer. So everyone in their calculator, inverse sine 4/5 to the nearest degree, and hopefully we get an angle in the first quadrant, which we do. And that angle 53 degrees. All right. Jake.
Do the sig figs matter for this?
Whoa, big timer over there with the vocab, the street lingo, sig figs.
I know, like some people like.
If I ask for nearest degree, you are just looking at the number right after the decimal. 5 or bigger, you round it up. 4 or smaller, you keep it.
Okay.
That's how I roll in here. All right. Sig figs, you made me nervous there. I could answer that question. Anything else? What? We good? Tim, why don't you move over so we're not distracting anybody? Okay? Can you do that for me? Over the other side of the room? Thanks. All right, here's the problem though. These problems are very easy when you stay in the first quadrant. It becomes a lot tougher when we move to other quadrants like we are right now. So go ahead. Now the terminal side goes through 6, -5. So everyone go ahead, 6, -5. So let me make that ready. Let's make the angle. X-axis and terminal side goes through 6, -5. All right. Do you see a right triangle we could build out of this? Always with the x-axis, right? With the x. Don't draw it over to the y. Here you go. X-axis right here. And if you're ready, let me give you a little piece of advice if you're unsure ever how to do it. You guys ever seen a bow tie before? Maybe some of you have worn one before. See the triangle in the fourth quadrant? That's what it should always look like. So if you're ever wondering, how do I make my triangle in a certain quadrant? Draw a bow tie. It'll show you what the triangle should look like in every quadrant. All right, how long's each side now? How long's this side here? 6. And the vertical side? 5. You all right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, same questions as the previous example. Number 1, find the value of sine theta. And everyone see where my angle is? It's always the reference angle that you made. There's theta right there. It's always the reference angle. I think we're going to run into the same problem we ran into problem 1 because it's opposite over hypotenuse. All right, give me the opposite side at least. 3, opposite side.
5.
5, yep. And then I look at the hypotenuse and it's blank. How do we find it though? Off to the side, Pythagorean theorem. 6 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. You know how I feel. I don't want sloppy decimals, so just leave it as square root of 61. Please leave it as the square root of 61. No decimals. Leave it as the square root of 61. So the hypotenuse. Talk to me before I move on to cosine. Yep.
You can't have the square root in the bottom of the fraction.
AKA, what's my saying? Have some self-respect. You can't leave a radical in the denominator. Correct. Have some self-respect. How did we get rid of it then? How do we get rid of it?
Times
Well-
flip side by the what's it called? The square root.
Yeah, here you go. So square root of 61, square root of 61. On top, you just get the two together, 5 square root of 61. What about at the bottom? If anybody keeps saying 1, I'm going to flip out. It's not 1 on the bottom.
60.
It's the number underneath the radical, which is 61. And that's as far as we can go, except it's still incorrect. We gotta make sure we pay attention to detail. Guys, what quadrant are we in? 4. What did we learn yesterday if I'm in the 4th quadrant about the sine value of any angle? ASTC, all students take classes. What do you know about the sine value in the 4th quadrant? Always what? So guess what? I got to pop a negative sign on. That is the toughest part about this right now, is remembering what quadrant you're in and if the answer should be negative or positive. Everyone understand why I flopped the negative sign on there? 4th quadrant, sine's negative. Next, cosine. At the end, what should the answer be here? Positive or negative? Cosine in the 4th quadrant is ASTC 13. Are you 13 or no?
Oh, yeah, I am. What was the question?
All right. I'm going to know, Jared, at the end of this problem, because I'm doing cosine in the 4th quadrant, should my answer be positive or negative at the end?
It should be positive.
Yes, yes. Because the C in the 4th means cosine's positive. Good. So A over H. Give me the adjacent and the hypotenuse now. Adjacent and hypotenuse side. 11. Adjacent side is what?
6
Over hypotenuse.
square root of 61.
Yep, self-respect. Let's go. Get rid of it. Times radical 61 over radical 61. Can't cross anything out. That's as far as you go. I'm leaving it positive because it's in the 4th quadrant and it's cosine. Dylan.
So I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this, but it will make sense. But so for some reason I thought that if you're like we're finding like the angles.
Not yet.
Oh wait.
We're just finding the cosine and the sine of the angle. Coming up, we're finding the angle.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
That's coming up
Oh,
here.
Yeah.
So is everyone all right finding the sine and the cosine? Okay, last part. Find the value of the angle. What is theta? We're in what quadrant? So you know my answer at the end, if it's correct, should be between 270 and 360. Last problem, I had somebody choose. Do you want to do inverse sine or inverse cosine? I'm going to change that now that we're in a different quadrant. I would always like you to use the one that's positive. Okay, take the inverse of whatever value is positive, which in our case was out of these two, which one was positive? Cosine. So I want you to do inverse cosine now. So theta equals inverse cosine 6 radical 61 over 61. And then I got to tell you what your calculator is only able to do, unfortunately. So everyone do it with me here. Inverse cosine, fraction template, 6 square root of 61 over 61. Unfortunately, your calculator doesn't know what quadrant you're in. Okay, it does not know. So what it's going to do, if you hit enter, is going to return this. So rounded, that's what? 40 degrees? Do you know what your calculator will give you because it doesn't know what quadrant you're in? What do you think this is? Yeah, go ahead. What do you got? It's the reference angle. Because your calculator doesn't know what quad you're in. And you can't tell it what quad you're in. So what it's just going to do is, okay, here's the reference angle no matter what quadrant you're in. So what it's giving me back is the reference angle is 40. That's what it's telling me. The reference angle is 40. So this angle right here is 40 degrees, the reference angle. And I am not scared at all for you. I am actually confident. You have enough ability now to know if that reference angle is 40, how can I find the angle in the fourth quadrant now? I have more than a ton of faith in you that you're able to do that. A ton. And you should have confidence too. If the reference angle is 40, how do I find my angle? What do I need to do? What do you think? 360 minus that reference angle. So the angle in the fourth quadrant is 320 degrees. All good? Any questions, comments, concerns? Please ask. Because now we're just going to go to the third quadrant now. Except a little change. We're all good though. Okay. Whew. Cosine is, okay, so I'm giving you cosine now. And the angle is in quadrant 3. Find the sine and the angle now. Ooh, I didn't give you a point, did I? That it goes through. I don't need to. What quad are we in? Third. Can you draw a right triangle in quad 3? And if you don't know what it looks like, bow tie will tell you what it looks like. Okay? The bow tie will tell you what the triangle looks like in quad 3. Theta is always your reference angle on the x-axis, never the y, on the x. And you may not think you have enough info or confidence, but you should be able to fill out 2 of those sides right now. And tell me how long 2 of those sides are. Cosine. What do you know cosine is equal to other than the x-coordinate? So guess what? The adjacent side's how long? 8. Everyone see where I'm getting at? A over h. It's already filled in for you. The adjacent side is 8. And what's the 17 belong to then? Hypotenuse 17. And again, why is it negative? What quad are you in? 3, and you're doing cosine, so it should be negative. Cosine's negative in the third. All right, here we go. First question, it says, find the sine value. Opposite over hypotenuse. You guys got a problem? What's the issue we run into? I don't have the opposite side, right? The opposite side is missing. Again, how can I find it though? Pythag. Make sure it's not 8 squared plus 17 squared, is it? It's going to be 8 squared plus b squared equals 17 squared. All right, that's what I need now. When you get it, let me know. Take your time. When you get it, let me know. 13, let me know when you get it. Pressure's on.
15.
15. And he answers the bell. 15 for that side. All good? So your opposite side is 15. Hypotenuse 17. Detail. It's tough, guys. I'm telling you, it's tough. What do I mean?
You need negative.
Yeah, why? What quadrant am I in?
Third quadrant.
Third quadrant, cosine is negative. It's that little things here. All right, next up. You think the little details are tough now. Wait till this now. All right, and find the angle to the nearest degree. Well, I've been telling you, okay, pick one to take the inverse of, but I'd love you to pick the inverse of the one that's positive. But what's the problem now? If I do inverse cosine, that one's negative. If I do inverse sine, that one's negative. So does everyone see I can't pick one that's positive to take the inverse of? So I'm going to make one that's positive then. What's positive in the third quadrant? What's positive in the third quadrant from yesterday's discussion? ASTC. Tangent. Good, so tangent. So find the tangent value now, because that one will be positive. Because I only want to take the inverse of whatever's going to be positive. Even though it never asked it for me, I'm going to find tangent. And you won't have to worry. I'll ask you to find all of them. But so what was tangent again? Refresh my memory back in the day. Opposite over adjacent. Yep. All right. What do you got for me? What's opposite and adjacent here? 9. Opposite and adjacent.
15 and negative 8.
Do I want to put a negative though? Because I thought tangent was positive.
Oh, no negative.
So just 15 over 8. Everyone good? Now you have something to take the inverse of. That's positive. So now we can say theta equals inverse tangent 15 over 8. I always want you guys to take the inverse of whatever is positive. It'll just make our lives so much easier. Could you do it with a negative answer? You can, but a lot more work. And remember, what's your calculator giving you? Because it doesn't know what quad you're in. Yep, it's giving you a reference angle right now. It has no idea what quad you're in. So what's that, about 62? Okay.
Why don't we make it negative 15? Do the negatives just not matter when
You could do it that way. I'm just afraid that when you do Pythagorean theorem, you're going to use that incorrectly. So instead, my method of teaching you, Jared, is remember what quadrant you're in, add the negative sign at the end of the problem if you need to. Now, look, you're saying that should be negative 8 and that should be negative 15, right? That's fine. You could do it that way.
But then you have to put the parentheses around.
When you do Pythag, and that's what I worry about.
Okay. So
So instead of fighting that battle, I'll fight the battle of remember what the sign should be at the end of the problem.
all right.
Okay, but you want to do it either way? I fine with me. Fine with me. What was our reference angle? 62. All right. Then what's the angle in the third quadrant then? How do I find it? Ooh.
180.
Ooh. Oh. Do I want to do 180? If I do minus 60, if I do minus, aren't I backing up into quadrant 2 now?
270.
Oh, don't you ever say that word, that number. 270 or 90. Look, ready? 180. And I need more though, right? More. How much more? 62 degrees more. So I don't want to do 180 minus that. I want to do 180 plus 62 to get it. If you do minus, you're backing yourself up into the second quadrant. And this ends up being 242, which is definitely in the third. Always take the inverse of a positive answer. And if it's not there, find it. All right, I'm going to end right there. Guys, I'm not going to have time tomorrow for you guys to do the assignment. I'm not. You got to do some things on your own. Okay, I'm not going to have time in class tomorrow. We got to move on. I wish we had time, but we don't.